Originally, this was going to be a video mostly about the new mount for the Pico MMU, but since I had to remount the winch and everything, I thought it'd be a good time to show the configuration and tuning process a little bit, so I included that as well. But the first part of this video is just a time lapse of me removing the old Pico MMU and mounting the new one. So, enjoy, and let me know in the comments what you think of the new mount. I have a new one designed, but I'm not too sure about it. Hopefully this one holds up. So I'm going to be remounting the winch on the Pico with the new base for mounting it and everything. And I wanted to just show how I do this. Hopefully a little bit better than I did before, because it's an odd process and it's not the most straightforward. Okay, so here we have the belt and the winch. I'm gonna slide it into as far to the left as possible. Then I'm gonna grab my little winch wheel and there we go. It's on, but the angle of the camshaft is horrible. The first cam is engaged right now, which when it's at 0, we want no cams to be engaged. That's very important. So let's pull this out, lift the belt slightly, adjust the angle. Okay, I like that angle, looks good. Force the winch on, push, there we go. Looks beautiful from this side, nothing's engaged. Now I just need to put the top cover on. I just need to find where I left the top cover and then put it on. Oh, here it is. I really hope that the servo's at 0, otherwise everything I just did is useless, but we'll see. So just put the winch cover on, and there we go. Now, let me lift you guys up first. Knowing that this piece fell up, I gotta find it where it fell. I'm really tempted to just super glue these in, because they always pop out, and it drives me a little bit insane. But the Pico's back together. Now I just gotta slap this on somewhere, slap on my stupid power PCB, and call it a day. I think I'm going to do that stuff off camera, and then get back to you guys once it's all wired up and all the filaments are connected, so that I can show how it all goes back together. See you then. So I've just finished rewiring the Pico on the elegoo. I found this perfect length cable for the stepper motor, so that's really nice. I do want to add some heat shrink to all of these DuPont cables at some point, but I don't know if I'm gonna do that right now. Frustratingly, the hub sensor I broke the cable off of, so I need to solder a new one onto that. And after that, it should be ready to go, I think. Trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. No, I think that's everything. Yeah. So I'm gonna get onto fixing the hub, and then get back to you guys once it's all together again. So I managed to get the soldering done. I probably should have just pulled the switch out and done it properly, but I didn't want to be honest. I slightly burned the plastic, but it's all good. No big deal. Chances are it's going to break again at some point, and then I'll replace the whole thing. But for now, it's good enough. Everything's wired up. All the tubes are connected. I fixed the sensor. So I'm just gonna hit the power switch and hopefully everything boots up. Yep. The LED's on that board. The LED's on this board. I can hear the fans going. Everything seems to be good. In terms of what's kind of next for the Pico, I did redesign the mount for it again to work very differently. And I filmed that, so I don't know if I'm gonna post that or not, but I might. I need to decide if I'm going to remount it or not, but what I'm definitely going to do with the Pico is mount some... I have a 8 LED RGB bar, and I want to mount it here. So I want to redesign this cross brace bar thing to allow me to attach the LEDs probably on the bottom, maybe facing up would look cool. And I basically want to use it to light up which filament is currently being used and signal things like when the filament is loading and unloading and stuff like that. I think that would be pretty cool. So that's the plan for the future. This is a little bit of a short video just going over the Pico mount, but I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. So one thing that I am realizing as I'm editing the clips from earlier is that I need to retune the Pico MMU basically completely because of the changes to the camshaft angle. All of the angles that I had measured before are useless. I was going to say essentially useless, but no, they are useless because they no longer correspond with any real values. So this is what I had before: 63, 120, blah 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 blah. So let's start by going back to the default for 4 lanes. But I want to keep note of our old value. So let's do that. Everything else should be fine because I made no changes to anything else. So yeah, save and restart. I didn't actually check my filament sensor was being recognized properly, so I gotta check that. Yeah, it is. Okay. What do I want to do? Let's force move lane or technically whatever. We're gonna force move lane 2 minus 100 because that's the one that should be loaded right now. And I have to actually look at the printer to see what's happening. Give me a second. I'm going to set up a camera looking at the Pico so that you guys can see what it's doing as I'm editing this. Okay, I just set my phone up pointing at the Pico MMU, so now when I edit this together, you'll be able to see both perspectives. So let us try that command again. We were trying to force move 2 minus 100. And I'm gonna get up so I can see it properly. So that currently loads lane 1 perfectly. So let's quickly jump over here. Or unload lane 1, I should say, because it was moving in a negative direction. So if we know this, that's 40 above that value, or yes, 40 above 61, or 39, if we want to be more exact about it. So let's try this for starters. Save and restart. Okay, just finished restarting. Let us go with a let's try it again. Force move lane 2 minus 100. It moved the correct lane, the correct amount. Well, I believe it was the correct amount. I'm not entirely sure about the amount, but I moved the correct lane, and that's by far the most important part. So that, yes, it unloaded the sensor. That's perfect. Let us, what should I do? Yeah, I think the filament that was in lane 2 passed the hub, so I should be able to do a test load, unload all. It is going to try the 4th lane, even though that lane... What if I just tried loading a lane? Let's just load lane 1. So now it's just loading, no problem. I don't understand what this sensor error was. Okay, because the filament wasn't loaded. Basically, when a filament change happens, the Pico MMU puts the filament at a very specific distance from the hub and from the extruder, and that's the distance that it pushes the filament when it does a lane load. So because I don't have the filament in the correct position yet, it failed. That's not a problem of the Pico. I just wanted to clarify that. Because I could also... I mean, I'm just going to click it again, and it will load it. It just takes a minute. It's just going to push the lane again. And hopefully this time it makes it to the filament system. Oh, it's still a little bit short. And now it's loaded. And because I did a load lane, it's going to heat up the hot end and actually do a full load. It's not just loading the extruder and then stopping. So the Pico just finished loading lane 1 into the hot end, and now I'm gonna unload the hot end. Unload lane 1. It's gonna do its thing. I forgot to start the other camera again. So, hot end's unloaded. Now we're gonna unload the extruder. Perfect. Okay. I think now I should be able to do this. Yes. This macro I made myself, but it basically just calls one of the existing macros 4 times in a row, just loading each lane one by one by one. And I like it because it very clearly tests the contact that your Pico's making with a filament. And you can see, okay, the Pico can load and unload all 3 filaments without any problems. So, yeah, it started with 0. It finished 0, it went to 1. Finished 1, it went to 2. Now it's trying 3. The problem with lane 3 is that lane 3 is empty. So, I don't entirely know what lane 3 is doing, but we'll have to figure it out. So lane 3 was able to push some filament into the sensor but not pull it back out. So that tells me that it's making some contact but bad contact. Let's move the Pico to lane 4's position so that we can take a better look at this. It's 168. We go over here, test servo angle, 168. Send that. Okay, I just checked, and realistically we can get a good couple more degrees out of it. I think we're gonna need almost the full 80 degrees that we have of reach. That makes me wonder if this value should be a little bit higher, but we're not going to change that just yet. Let's go to save and restart. I could have tested the angle before, and I'm realizing that now. Would have been smart to do that, but it's fine. At 175, it puts a lot less pressure on lane 2 than it did before, but it still puts some. Like how... I think it's just gonna have to be 180. I don't like using 180 because it's the limit of the servo, and it feels like it then limits my adjustability going forward. But yeah, I guess I should have gotten 360 degree servos, but I thought I didn't need them. I thought those would be pointless. So let's save and restart here. And then we need to unload lane 2, which is loaded by accident. Actually, it's not necessarily loaded, it's just at the filament sensor. So I think a force move might be best. Force move 2, minus 40 should be enough. I think that might have been a tiny bit short. Okay, the sensor is cleared, so that's fine. And now we can rerun SP test load unload all. Okay, filament detected in the... I think it doesn't like to do the test load unload all after it does a force move of any sort, which is a bit frustrating, but I can work around that. Let's just load. Actually, load extruder with 0. Filament in the hub. There's no filament in the hub. What are you on about? What if I try loading 2? Still filament in the hub. There is no filament in the hub. I hate when it... Think. Okay, so we'll do a load lane, which loads the extruder and the hot end, but it won't let me just load the extruder for some reason. It's very odd, but whatever. I don't really understand what it was trying to do there. But I think I'm going to call it here. I just wanted to show a bit of the process that I go through to tune my Pico MMUs. And I figured that this would be a better real-life example than the last one, which was pretty much all theoretical. So I hope this helps. And I'll get back to you guys with the LED thing for the Pico sometime soon. Might do a video on the Voron first, and then come back to the elegoo. But I hope you guys enjoy.